So hi team. So this story is for creating POC for unit test cases using any unit. So I created a POC for this project. So let me show you the infrastructure, I mean architecture of the test. So here you can see this is the grid project having multiple solution. In grid project you can see this is presentation layer, this is business layer, this is domain layer, and each and everything is moving towards these three layers, right? So I will create unit test cases for presentation layer, business layer and domain layer separately. So let me show you the architecture of test project. So this is the top of the test solution, you can say solution folder, and inside this test solution folder I have presentation layer test, business layer test, domain layer test, and this is dependency resolver. So in this presentation layer test I will test presentation layer, in business layer test I will test business layer, and in domain layer test I will test domain layer. So for each different layer I have different test project. So this is nothing, this is a simple library project, C# library project. You can see here presentation layer dot test, business layer dot test, domain layer dot test, and this is a special project class library project. This is for a dependency resolver. It means I will be creating an inject module for resolving the object. Basically this will be used for dependency injection. So I will be getting the object of the classes just by using the interface. So this is for that purpose. So let me show you how it looks like. So you can see here basically I'm going to test this project, and most of the data access layer, you can say most of the repository reside inside the grid object 2. So for POC I am just going to test one method, one from data repository and one for master repository, right? So let me show you how I am testing this data repository and master repository. So let me show you something before going into domain layer test project. So let me first show you some ninject module by which I am resolving the object, and this is actually basically I signed in with the some default, you can say a dummy SNK file, so that if later on required then we can make it possible. So as you can see here in dependency resolver I have business layer module, that is nothing, basically an inject module, and you can see here domain layer module, that is nothing, just an inject module, right? So you can see here this is an inject module, right? So and you can see inside the domain layer module, it means an inject module, what I am doing, I am just passing connection string where it is required, and I am passing cache time span where it is required. Let me show you where it is required. Let press F12, and you can see here in constructor we are requiring connection string, right? So I'm just passing connection string here. So I'm also getting this connection string from somewhere, from where I will call this dependency resolver. So in that layer, from that layer I will be getting connection string and receiving inside the domain layer module. So I will show you later on. So just for now, you can see here I'm just registering the data repository. Data repository, master repository, document repository, account contact data repository. So just registering. So just keep in your mind whatever the constructor, if any repository constructor require parameter, that you have to pass from here. If you don't pass, then dependency resolver will be not able to create the object for you whenever you will try to get object from interface. So keep it in your mind. Pass all the constructor parameter from here with the constructor argument. So this is, and similar thing with the business layer module. Just I'm basically business layer module, you can say the Dapper services. Most of the Dapper services inside the business layer. So I'm just try to test this grid account contact services, right? So just I'm trying to test this one, right? So you can say this is in business layer I will test Dapper services. So here you can see as I register in the domain layer module, similar I am just registering in the business layer module, because this is the inject module and this is required for dependency injection. This is required for get the object, right? So this is all about the business, this is all about the dependency resolver, right? And let me come into the domain layer test. So let me show you these three layers having similar kind of configuration, similar kind of architecture. If you can understand one layer, then you can understand each layer. So let me make you clear one layer. So in every test layer you will get configuration folder, you will get app.config file, and you will get base layer test, and you will get test environment setup in each test layer. So I will tell you what is the requirement of these files. So let me show you one by one. So in app config file you will be writing your configuration section. So basically domain layer using entity framework, so entity framework related configuration is here, and this domain layer also require connection string, so connection string configuration is here. So each configuration will come into app config file, right? And let me show you test configuration setup. Basically this is the n unit set fixture, and what it will do, it will run at once. When you run or debug your test project, then only once this method will call, only once. So for that purpose, if I'm want to create an object for whole life cycle of my selected test project, then you have to write those line of code here. Run before any test, as name said, run before any test, right? So what I'm doing here, I'm just reading the connection string from a config file by using the configuration manager and time span, and here n inject syntax. Here is the n inject syntax, right? So what I'm doing here, I'm just creating the standard kernel, and I'm just creating the module list, n inject module list. I'm just passing domain layer module, so it is written inside the dependency layer. So you can see here domain layer module and business layer module, but currently I'm working on domain layer test, so I am registering the domain layer module. and keep in your mind here you have to pass connection string, kernels and time spent, because this connection string require to create the instance of your repository. Then you have to pass this one. Sorry. So this is all about this, right? So let me open configuration section. So you can say here is app kernel manager. So it is just basically, this is a singleton class. It is just basically for store the global level kernel in a single place, so that later on you can access it. So this is for that, nothing else. Sorry. And here your repository will go, right? So see here I'm trying to test data repository and master repository. So here you can see base data repository test.cs and data repository test1.cs, right? So you are thinking, maybe you are thinking, why we have two CS file for same repository, right? So you are thinking, right? So but we have purpose, we have reason to keep these two files for same repository. So let me show you. Let's say this is the base data repository, right? So inside this repository I will keep only common things that will be used by all the child data repository, right? So as you know, if you go in domain layer and if you expand data repository, then you can see here huge line of code, right? Huge line of code. So a number of line of code. So if you want to segregate or if you want to keep those line of code in separate file, then you just need to create your own class. As I created data repository test1, you can put any name, right? Just prefix with the data repository and you can write any name. So and you have to inherit base data repository test here, and you don't need to create any object of this data repository, because data repository is protected. So automatically we will get that object here. So see, I'm just try to access one method, get building address. So I'm just writing the code here. I'm getting data repository object because it is already created in the base class, base data repository test, right? I'm calling get building address, just passing few building ID, and here is country of the building, and I'm just testing against this building country. Building address will return the country ID. So on the basis of that, I'm just asserting the value, assert r equal building country ID is equal to building address dot country ID, right? So this is in this way you can write any kind of test. I will show you how we can debug it, but for now I'll leave it, and let's move toward others layers. So this was domain layer, and similar way here you will get configuration, app kernel manager, test environment setup. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just registering business layer module and inject module, right? So and similar thing you can do with, as I did in domain layer, same thing you can do in business layer, just by using similar convention. Here I'm testing grid account contact services. So similar way I'm just separated two CS file, one for base and one for concrete one. So and similar way you can see in the presentation layer. In presentation layer you can Similar thing here, this also test environment and base layer test and config files means configuration section, and here is your dependency layer. If you have something that need to be injected, then you can write here kernel bind and your mapper or registration things. You can see here I'm just registering contact processor here. So here also I'm creating map for iMapper, auto mapper, right? So you can take the example from here. So what I'm doing here, I'm just creating the test cases for controller. So you can see here we have UI layer, and inside UI layer we have multiple controllers. So you can see here in controller API I'm just testing account contact controller. In similar way I just created a base controller, and I'm just inheriting that base controller inside account contact controller, right? And here you can see I'm just testing an unit UI, right? So let me build it and let me show you. Let me build it and let me show you all available test cases in this. So let's rebuild the solution. So let me run. So let me run these three. You can see here I have written 4 unit test cases, and one for data repository, one for master data repository, and one for UI layer. This is data layer and this is UI layer, and this is for business layer. This is for business layer. Right. So let me try to run these 3 test cases, and let's see what happens. So see, all 3 test cases have been passed, right? So only this let me run this one, and let's see what happens. It got failed, right? So it failed due to because this store procedure not exists in the database. So that's why this unit test case failed, right? So you can say this is for negative test cases and this all for positive test cases. So this is all about test layer, means all about the test that I have already created. So there is still scope to refactor these codes. So I will later on I will refactor the code and handle exception handling. So this is for this is for test n unit test. So that's all.